like words.
Yeah.
Use your words, big man. I want to know.
Big man. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Podcast. I'm Toni.
I'm Temi.
And we're joined once more with special guest Mayowa. Today we're talking about all things relationships.
Would you agree though that a lot of guys our age just seem to be so like nonchalant about relationships and just so like chill about it, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I just think is a thing.
Yeah, I would say there are some guys. I'm sorry, that come to mind. No, there are some guys. Don't
lie, there are some guys that come to mind.
That would be like, yeah, they just seem not. It's, again, like you're saying, it's not a bad thing, but they just seem like, oh, it is what it is, kind of. It will happen when it happens. If it doesn't, I'm not fussed. But I would say there's some more guys, I'd probably say, who kind of tiptoe, so I get confused. I just don't know what's going on in terms of they go into relationships. Because like past conversations and things I've had with guy friends especially, it seems like they're very much like put a pressure on themselves that it has to be a certain way, or that they can't do things or come across it this way or that way, whatever. And so the whole concept of like dating relationships and stuff becomes, I feel, for them anyway, or for the people I've had conversations with, a much bigger thing than I think it needs to be.
So in the like they're 20 steps ahead of where you are, which is interesting because people always say that that's like girls are already married like in their head before.
Someone I've heard, I want to say someone said, but I don't know. Anyway, that basically that before women get into relationships, they have to be able to visualize themselves in relationships, whereas guys are just like, that's a nice girl. Which I can't say whether that's true or not. But anyway, I actually do agree with you, Mayowa, that I think that dating is especially initially is getting to know someone. So dating to marry, like I believe in that concept, but I think that doesn't mean the absence of having fun and just taking time to get to know the person, right? And I think that sometimes people can be about 10 steps ahead and be like, okay, but if I'm asking this person to, like, if I'm asking to spend time one-on-one with this person, like, it means I have to, like, be ready to marry them, and like, and I think that that's also why you have to be a little bit careful getting into a relationship to not be like, hey, like, we're in a relationship, like, just get it out
Facebook
there.
official.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And it's like, you've been on one coffee date, like, where you barely spoke to each other. Yeah. I think that often people can kind of put that pressure on it.
It's so funny because like a couple of weeks ago I went for my friend's birthday, her 30th, and then I was talking to a couple who were there who I knew the girl but I didn't know the guy, and then I was like, oh, so how did you guys get together? And the lady was like, oh, I asked this guy on, basically they knew each other from uni because like she went to his house because she knew some of his housemates, and then
it's always the way.
but she didn't like him, and she was a Christian and he was not, and she was like, his vibe's kind of off. And so she didn't. She like made it clear because he liked her, and she made it clear basically that it wasn't reciprocated. But then they met at a mutual party like 5 years later or something, and then he had like changed quite a lot. So she asked him out for a coffee because she was just like intrigued of what happened, like why she changed. And as she was telling this story, there was a couple of guys there who were like, so you asked him out on a date? And she was like, it wasn't even a date, I didn't like him, but I just wanted to get to, like, he was interesting and I wanted to get to know him. Yeah, but it's so funny how everyone's like, oh, coffee, you gone on a date, like, with someone of the opposite sex. But equally, I have been in situations where I've known people who have done that, or even gone for meals in the evening and stuff, and it's not been a date, and they've made it very clear. And obviously that can happen. I mean, but I think people can just sometimes look at it and be like, oh, they're on a date. It's like,
but I think you have to be clear with what it is. Like today I went for a meal with my male friend one-on-one, and it's like we very clearly know what the issues are. So I just feel like sometimes people get weird about male-female relationships, and it's like, why can't I spend time with my male friend? I was going to say in the same way as I'd spend time with, you know, with you, with Mayowa, but like obviously you can't spend time in exactly the same way. You do have to be careful, especially when like one of you is in a relationship. I'm ready for this question. But like, yeah, I do think that sometimes people can be a little bit too careful with it almost. That it's just like you.
It's interesting that you said especially when one's in a relationship. I thought you were going to go down the route of like when people are both single, but then one might like the other, but it's not.
I think that's my question.
I'll let you ask your question. I think that's one aspect of it, but also I think that I can't when someone enters a relationship, you can't necessarily behave the same way that you can when they're single.
Oh, definitely,
no, definitely not.
So you have to respect the fact that they're in a relationship, and it's so. For example, me going for a meal with my friend, he's in a relationship, right? His girlfriend, we've met each other, like we're comfortable with each other. She knows me. She knows I'm not out to get her man. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's like she's comfortable with it, whereas with some other people, she might not be so comfortable with it. So it's like if I know that she's not going to be happy for me to go for a meal with her boyfriend, then I'm going to respect that, and I'm going to ask them both to come. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So it's little things like that. I think you need to be respectful of the fact that they are in a relationship. So even like maybe not spending like late nights one-on-one where I know that nothing's going to happen, he knows that nothing's going to happen, we all know that nothing's going to happen, but do you get what I mean? So it opens doors for certain interpretations and things like that. So it's respecting the relationship. But go on.
What's your question?
So my question is, do you ever think that guys and guy-girl relationships can be strictly platonic? Or do you think there's always going to be someone who... But do you think there's always, like, an attraction somewhere at some point in the relationship? Or do you think there's always going to be, like... Bearing in mind, it doesn't have to be you all the time. Do you know what I mean? As in, it could be, like, the guy
if you're liking every guy you're friends with, like, I think you need to sit down.
But on that, though, I remember one time at uni, like, a group of us were talking, and one of the guys said that guys can imagine themselves with every girl, basically, whereas girls like friend zone people and then
girls what? I'm scared. I'm joking, don't come for me.
But where girls like automatically put guys in like a friend and then it might.
But I think you have like initial analysis, don't you? Like there is, isn't it? Not that you sit down and you're like, yes, you're in this category, you're in this category. But I think initially when you meet someone, you know whether you vibe with them in that certain way or whether it's like purely platonic.
I don't know if it's in that certain way. I think it's like, do you vibe with them at all or not? Because it's like,
well, what do we mean by vibe?
I think you know when you first meet someone, you know if you get on well, the conversations flows like.
But I feel like there are guys that I'm like that with, but I wouldn't say that I would want them to be on my boyfriend.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like.
So then, what makes the difference?
Well, that's like the more time that you spend with them and get to know them and stuff.
She says it as it is. Temi says
anyway.
Attraction. if I'm not attracted to you, it's game over.
Okay, so
we're friends.
So if you first meet somebody and you're attracted to them, and
that doesn't automatically mean that you.
100%.
But like, I think it's not black and white. It's not okay.
Not,
you're in the potential date zone. You're in the friend zone. Like it's not like
so. So it can be a sliding scale.
Well, I mean, a lot of people.
So someone in the friend zone could then find their way.
Not everybody. Please.
I said someone. Someone could.
I think
of course.
Because it's like
you get to know people. Your relationship changes with people.
Yeah, definitely.
But also, I mean,
even if you're not attracted to them at the first.
I agree because like
stop it.
I do think like after the more time you spend with people, the more
attractive they become.
No, not necessarily.
No. I agree.
Not necessarily, but like, so it's not like some people you're not like super as soon as you see them. Oh my gosh, they're so attractive. But you're also not like, oh, I'm not sure about them.
Do you think that often?
No.
I'm not sure about them.
To be honest, I've had lots of conversations with my friends about this because I don't when I see a guy, I don't automatically think, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like, I don't think about them that way. I'm just like, oh, there's a person. Like, I'm not like clocking, like, unless it's someone who's like super, like, oh whoa, they've got something about them that I really like or something. But I don't really think, and to be honest, it's people in general, because I know like people have done like, oh, you know, they're an 8 or like stuff like that. I hate the rating thing. I really hate it. Or I remember in like one time I was playing some like drinking game. I wasn't drinking, but everyone else was, and it was like it was one of those things where I was just. It was for a trampolining competition, and it was the night before because we had travelled elsewhere.
They're drinking the night before they didn't take it seriously enough.
No. But yeah, so it was like one of those things that I was like...
Trampolining while hungover.
It was one of those things where I was like, you know, trying to forge relationships a little bit, but I was definitely not. I was definitely... It was not your type of conversation. They weren't my... So anyway,
so sorry to anyone who's listening.
If they are listening, I'm so glad you're listening. And I got on with them. But it's just like... We know that we're not each other's people.
But I think that's like the vibing thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
About when you vibe with someone.
Yeah. I can't even remember why I got to this.
You would.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say there was a game of like truth or dare or something, and then they were like, oh, who do you find most attractive in this circle? And then I literally had to like. I didn't already have an answer. I was like, oh, actually, what do I even think of as attractive with the people who are here? Like, it wasn't like a,
would you say that you see someone and you think about how attractive they are?
Yeah.
Simple answer.
I think most people do. Sometimes I'm like, am I a bit weird?
I think you're not. I think it's just that people are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then variety is the best of life.
But then maybe that goes back to the
what I was saying before.
Yeah. I was just like, I don't think it was recorded actually. But the conversation that we were having before about the fact that you think a lot of people don't think that you're like necessarily interested in like a relationship.
Yeah. Because people have said that outright to me. So it's not just I think, I know. But I do think that it was true, definitely. I think now I'm more like ready, but also I just never been super like, oh, I want to be in a relationship. Whereas I've had friends who have definitely been like really looking for a relationship, and that's what they really yearned for and really wanted. And I was like, yeah, I do want that, but I'm not fussed about having it now, or I was just living my life, doing what I like to do, and you know, it will come whenever it comes, kind of thing. But I think that's very much me to a T, to be honest. Like with things in life, it's just like it'll come when it needs to happen. So
I think I'm like that with relationships as well. I remember you always being like, it'll come when you least expect it. Before, like,
people always say that.
And but
I hate that phrase, but also there is
I think that's an element of truth. But I think also what I figured out in my relationship experience is that sometimes it coming when you don't expect it isn't a good thing.
Yeah. Sorry, you go.
Okay. So I think that sometimes you know when you don't need to be in a relationship.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You're like,
Don't necessarily.
No. But do you get what I mean? So it'll come when you least expect it, like.
But people are saying that when they've spoken to somebody who is really, really wanting to be in a relationship, and they're like really striving for it, and then they've like had some thing of like, okay, let me just stop for a little bit and just focus on my life, and then that's when people say it though. In my experience, that's when people say it, when people have like been really, really like, I really want a relationship, and that's their main focus in their life, and then they like just pause a little bit, and then it happens. Like I think that's when I hear that. People don't just tend to say that to anyone, like in any situation.
I was in the field, it was Ruth in the field.
Yeah, well, we just kept rolling, ignored it.
I know theology. Continue.
And call yourself Christian.
I was going to say, do you think that is because the whole it'll happen when you least expect it or whatever. Do you think that's because, I don't know how else to phrase this, people can sense the desperation?
Yikes.
And it's not attractive. Do you think that's an element of it? Or?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I do, because...
I was going to expand further. Yes.
Yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
Well then. Cool. The next question.
Is it wrong to really strongly desire a relationship?
No, definitely not.
I think the way you could...
Yeah, the way you
conduct yourself
it,
is important,
yeah.
Definitely. But I don't think it's wrong to want that for yourself.
But the way you're trying to be like so polite, the way you conduct yourself.
I'm not here to be making enemies.
I think it's obviously when you really want something, you're focused on that, whatever it is. So sometimes you can be not necessarily clouded. Like I feel like that's a bit strong, but you can not see things from an outer perspective.
Yeah.
So I think it's like there's ways to make yourself available and just open, but not necessarily be super like. I think it can come across sometimes of like, yikes, that person is like needs to calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
And
I probably go to actually agree that I think sometimes people do get a bit clouded from like having the need or the want to be in a relationship, that they actually idolize like the relationship rather than the person they're going into.
Yeah, that's
true.
True,
Why
actually.
you see people in like relationships where you're just like, really don't make no sense.
Yeah.
But because they're so adamant or so focused on the fact they want to be in a relationship, they don't actually take time to kind of stop and like think, oh, actually the person I'm in a relationship, do I want to be do I want to be with this person, or do I just want to be in a relationship?
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah,
definitely seen that before. Yeah.
I feel like you've kind of moved on / can't exactly remember the phrasing of said question, but something you said about
making yourself available, I think.
Yeah, making yourself available.
It's gonna be, how do you do that?
It's not, I mean, yeah. Why am I stuttering? Yes, but I think like just to talk about the traditional like it needs to be the guy type situation in this 21st century, is that relevant?
So I had a conversation with a guy friend about a week ago, and he said to me that he finds that girls can sometimes be confusing in relationships. And I was like, well, in like the background of relationships, dating, all that jazz. And I was like, well, why? Like, why? What makes this confusing? And it's like, because obviously there are signs, and like if a girl gives up a sign and this and the other, then it gets confusing because if you think you're vibing with the girl and you think she's throwing out some signs, and then you like go out on a date or something and she's like, no, we're just friends, and it's like, oh, we're actually friendly or whatever. And we're just talking amongst that, but I was just kind of like, I just thought it was interesting again how there was this like, I don't know, unwritten code, I guess, of like what a classed as like a sign.
It's funny because I've been in that situation, but I do not do well with like these subliminal signs of like eyes and stuff like that. This is why I'm better now. I'm better now, but I'm like, this is why you need intent. Like you need to know.
It's not just intent. I like words.
Yeah.
Use your words, big man. I want to know.
Big man.
No, but like, you know what I mean? Like, just use your words because I think like action. Okay, that whole phrase of like actions speak louder than words. I get it, but I think sometimes words just speak clearer.
Yeah.
Like if you're genuine with your words, then like I understand that.
Yeah.
But like I think actions can be confusing and it can get clouded.
I don't know if it's like a sign of maturity or whatever. Like, you know, when people are in school, they're like, does he like me? Or ask your friend, ask blah blah blah. And it's like, people just won't say it. And to be fair, it takes guts, because if you like someone and you shut down, where do you go from there? But I think I don't know, maybe it's a sign of maturity of like, okay, we got to a place where I can just ask the person like, or straight up say I like you, or even I'm not sure but I would like to pursue this romantic.
But then I think
something like that.
I feel like you've been
no, all I was going to say was so what I was saying in this conversation with this person. Was that that I personally I can only speak from my own personal opinion, but I was like, I feel people really, and from the girls that I've talked to about it anyway, that they really value honesty, just being up straight and forward, like you were saying, because in the past I think people. I'm quite a friendly person, I feel I like to talk to people. So in the past, that has sometimes led me in a bit of hot water with people. And I'm just a bit like,
I can relate.
We're like, we're really friends. That's what I see it. Anyway, separate conversation. But yeah, and I think sometimes, and sometimes I feel like it is. I do appreciate when guys are like, oh no, this is what is up straight, and then they're like, but then what if you've what was said? I can't remember what was said after that, but I remember thinking we were talking about how again the pressures on like a first date or asking someone out for coffee and things like that, and I was like, it really doesn't have to be anything major. It's actually like, I like you, I just want to explore. But it doesn't even need to be I like you. It's I enjoy spending time with you. I want to get to know you better. Like, let's just spend time together, and I think that leaves the door open to figuring out whether this thing is.
Open. Yeah.
Pretty much.
I didn't start it right from the start.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't think that's how the song goes. But
I could see you like. I didn't start right.
Because I was like, wait, what?
I was about to join in. Yes, and I don't know this version.
Remix.
You gotta get on the remix.
So that the chorus of that song.
Yeah, it is like partway through the chorus.
Yeah.
What?
Anyway, you said you leave the door open for
that leaves the door.
exploration.
Yeah, but like not even, because I feel like exploration can sound a little bit like.
Okay,
what's happening here?
Let me say that.
It leaves the door open to actually figuring out what it is.
Yeah.
Like I was having a conversation earlier today with someone who said that they'd basically asked like a girl to like spend time with them basically, and it was just like throwing it out there like, oh, we should do this activity that they both enjoyed doing together, and it wasn't really like a trying to ask you on a date, like it was just and then she sent back a voicemail that was like basically like, okay, so I think we need to state like what this is, blah blah blah. And it was like, I was like, that's so intense. Like, I think that conversation is important, but not right. Like,
I get the intensity.
Yeah.
I get it, but I think this, what happens is when people aren't quite sure yet if they like somebody or not, and so like, I don't know who you were talking with or the situation, but say the guy wasn't quite sure and the girl was like, it's a definite no for me or something, like that's why she's like coming in from the beginning. Like,
no, but I feel like if it's a definite no, then don't be like, we need to state what is in state. Just actually state what it is for you. Like, don't be like, oh, we need to figure this out, because
sometimes like you don't really know. You're just like, oh, I mean I get on well with you, so like,
I think that it's important to communicate that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not asking you out because I'm in love with you.
Yeah.
Maybe don't say it like that. But it's in stating that.
But also, we are saying all this when we're not in the situation, because it's like you can know something, but then like.
Sorry, that honestly, there was nothing. There was nothing in that. I just enjoyed that.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I just enjoyed that.
What are you looking at me for?
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I would really love to hear some male perspective on this.
Yes.
And I've had many conversations with a lot of my male friends about this, yet none of them will come on my podcast.
But yeah,
guys, come on, let's back yourselves.
But it's true, and I don't know what I was gonna say. I don't know why
you came in so strong. I was like,
it's because I didn't finish what I was saying before. Now I've got something like I need to say what I was saying.
I feel like it'll come back to you.
Yeah,
usually does.
Doesn't matter. On to the next one. Next question.
On to the next one.
Back to the question. Sorry, can you say it again?
So the question was,
how would you change it?
Like, how would you change your approach let's say a guy, okay, situation is, you're strictly platonic with a guy, you just want to be friends, but he has it in the back of his mind that, oh, this could be something. But when is the right time for you to be like, no?
But it depends how they approach it, though. Because...
So I'm using the example, so I'm kind of basing it on the example that you gave where the girl went on the date and then they just went to dinner or whatever it was together, and then from like day one she was like, no, this is what it is.
But that's not even what happened. It was before they had even...
Okay, well then, yeah, so even before they had done it, she was like, this is what the relationship is, Like, would you do that, or would you be more of like
I think it's hard to say because like,
it depends on
when you first meet somebody, you don't say we need to define this like the very
but
first
no,
time.
they knew each other though. That's the situation. You know this person, but I feel like, okay, let's set the scenario.
Okay.
Correct me if you want to add in a little flair here or there. But okay, so let's say hypothetically, you and a guy are friends, and they're like, but maybe you don't know each other that well, like you're not super close, and then they're like, okay, let's go bowling together. We both enjoy bowling, you know. You're really looking at me like I needed to pluck something out here. Let's go bowling together. We both enjoy bowling, right? And then
you know it's just you two.
You know it's just you two, and you're thinking, this guy likes me. I don't like this guy. Discuss. 10 marks. Point evidence.
10 marks.
Is that the kind of
yeah. So that's kind of the question I'm going for. Good question.
I still think, even though we've just defined the scenario, I still think it depends on the person, because there are certain people that you could go on that thing with, see what is happening, and then there's some people, you know, if you say yes to that, they're 10
but also in that
ahead.
Scenario, you knew that the person liked you even though you didn't like them, so then it's
but is the person knowing you from intuition, or is it they've said to you?
That's why you use your words.
Because if it's intuition, there's no guarantee that, because again, I've been in situations where I've been like, let me just quickly, just so you know, there's nothing, and like they're like, what do you mean stuff into I'm not going down that way, and I've been like, okay, fine. And there's been other times where I haven't said anything and it has happened, so I'm just like, okay.
I don't know because I've not really been in that.
Sticky one still. I mean, in the...
Go on, use the words.
Back on me. So one experience in the past was that I did end up going, I think it was for lunch with someone, and then afterwards being like, no.
Thank you, next.
It wasn't next, it was just no. But at the same time, like, I explained to that person that I wasn't trying to date anyone. So I think sometimes you just have to be clear about where you are. Like, is it just I don't like you? Maybe don't say it like that, but like there are ways to say that. Or I think, what is the situation?
I think sometimes you have to say it bluntly. Sometimes, some people.
Sometimes you do, because they don't hear it the first 10 times.
But also, you need to know what you actually want, because I was in the situation, but then I just freaked out because I didn't realize the person liked me, and I just like freaked out and said, I'm not looking for that. But then, like, when I think back, I was like, okay, I should have said more than just that, because, like, to be honest, I don't know for sure, but maybe the guy was like, oh, she doesn't like me, like, it's not happening with me. But I was just like, actually, I was just not really in that frame of mind to be in a relationship, full stop. And because I wasn't even coming with that in mind, it just kind of blindsided me a bit. And so I was like, okay, after that I was like thinking more, okay, what if something was to happen again where someone came in the picture, like, do I want to pursue it, do I not? Is it because I don't know that, like, there's lots of variables, is it the timing's wrong, or, you know, how does it come up, etc, etc.
I was having a conversation with someone who was saying, like, you shouldn't have to explain yourself, people should just be able to take the no. And I think to an extent that is true, but I think it's also nice to be able to say to people, actually, sometimes I think within context, there are times when you don't need to explain yourself, but you know, for example, with you saying that guy was probably like, oh, she doesn't like me,
not necessarily, but like he might have thought that. I'm not saying.
I feel like you're trying to be like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, because I don't know.
Of course you don't.
Like,
I'm
we
saying
never
that you
actually
said that
spoke about
he might have said that.
Yeah.
Do you know? It's nice to not let people go down that path of like an issue.
I would probably say actually, just because of the nature of it, I think I don't really like it when people who said. I don't have to explain myself. I think you don't have to I don't think you have to justify the decision. I would say that if you want no and you don't want a relationship, you don't have to then prove to the person why that is a valid reason or the other thing. The person really should just take the no and be like, okay, fine. However, I do think you
can explain.
You can explain. I mean, not necessarily give a whole thesis behind the reason why, if you have it that long. But I think you need to give some kind of explanation just to be like, because let's be real, the person really put their stuff out there saying I like you.
I think
it's
for me, for my situation, it's because like I was like, if I was in the other if it was flipped round, I would want to know. So it was like, that's good communication, but I just didn't even have the own communication within myself first to be able to explain that. So I think I completely agree with what you said. You don't need to justify your answer. Your answer is justified because that's how you're feeling. But it's worth the explanation or just the speaking to that person. I almost feel like it's not common decency. I don't want to be that like.
It's just courteous. Disrespectful.
But also I'm thinking with my situation in mind, not necessarily like
every situation.
Thinking of other aspects. So but. I was gonna take it somewhere else. So I don't know. Well, I mentioned this, but I don't know if it's in or not. About so I went for my friend's birthday a few weeks ago.
No, the camera cut out.
I realised as I started saying it. I went for my friend's birthday a few weeks ago, and then the day after, me, her, and two of her friends, guys, went for lunch and.
Continue, sorry.
It was the guys. It just made me laugh.
because of like the context of this situation, this conversation. Sorry, because we were saying about how sometimes you can have these conversations with guys, but they won't. Anyway, so and we were just talking about like relationships and dating and marriage and stuff like that, and they were talking about in marriage, like kind of do women want a traditional or like it was all the conversations around, I guess, the split of not even chores, but like how would
traditional marriage in that respect.
how would the relationship work in terms of like traditionally maybe it was the guy getting all the bread and or bringing home the bacon and looking after that, and the woman might be looking after the kids and cooking and cleaning, like keeping the household in check. And so we're just talking about all different scenarios basically. And I remember one of the guys was like, would you something to the effect of, so you would want to work then? And I was like, well, yeah, I think of...
Sorry.
Your face,
Okay.
So instead of like me being at home taking care of the house and the kids, I would also want to go out and work. And he was like, well, you could have, your own online business and, do things at home. And I was like, yeah, but I still want to go... If one of us is going out to work, then I would ideally like it to be both, or somehow split it, that it's not all on.
Well, it depends on
his
person.
Basically, I was just saying that I don't want. Well, multiple streams of income, full stop, is a very good idea.
Yep.
Wherever you are at in your life, get multiple streams of income, however you can. So that's
not however you can, please.
Yes,
not however keep it legal, keep it moral, keep it safe.
Yeah, wrong choice of words. Yeah, but I mean, I just mean, just think about having different streams of income, because that's very important. Don't rely solely on a paycheck, which one day your employer might just be like, yeah, sorry, you're not working here. And it happens, and I mean, COVID is
not my portion.
Actually, don't return to sender, not return to sender. Sorry.
COVID
Sorry, continue.
20 times later, I say this sentence.
I'm trying not to make you lose your job here.
No, but I'm just saying, like, COVID is a prime example of that, because lots of industries went either bust or, like, lost a lot of business and stuff like that. There are unforeseeable circumstances that we can't see, so a good thing is to have multiple streams of income. Unforeseeable does mean we can't say yes.
Do you know why I'm laughing? Because it reminded me of that Sean Kingston song that's like, she's indecisive. That Justin Bieber, Sean Kingston, where it's like, she's indecisive, she can't decide. It's like, that is literally what indecisive means.
He needed that filler lyric.
Yeah, he did.
Anyway, so yeah, we were talking about... so I was saying that I wouldn't want the whole income for the household to solely fall on the other person, that I would also want to be earning, basically. And I think I feel that way because if it was the opposite way around and all of that was on me, it's a lot of stress for one person to bring in enough funding or income to run the household, and that I would think that that's something to be shared. Also, because me personally, I like to know what's going on. I like to know with finances, with whatever it might be, because I personally think that it's good to have a hand in the income that comes into the house, the cooking for the house, the cleaning for the house, like everything that needs doing. Like it doesn't have to be split down the middle or whatever. Like, I think some people can have certain things that they're better at than others and stuff. So it depends on the people in the relationship. But for me, I am into finances and money and keeping on top of that, and I wouldn't want that to be all with the other person. And so they were like saying, oh, so you would want to be working then. And I was like, well, yeah, because if we are going out, I don't want it all to be on that other person's head, and then if something was to happen to them, they were ill, they couldn't work for some time, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it falls to me.
I think what you were saying about playing to strengths is very important there. And that's why for me a traditional household doesn't really make sense, because if that plays to the strengths of the people, then that's fine. I mean, of course it's fine anyways. Like, it's not my relationship.
Do you know
what I mean? So I can't prescribe what you should or shouldn't do. But as for me and my house, like, I don't imagine having that traditional, he, brings home the bacon, I look after the family and the kids or whatever. Like, I don't imagine that, because I don't think that will necessarily play to the strengths.
Yeah, and I think it's for the whole, like, again, I know that there are people that do this, and I'm not, like, saying that, but from my experience, or from what I've seen anyway, from quite a few people, I'm not saying majority, but quite a few people, I think one paycheck is not enough. It doesn't sustain. Like, for family units. So let's say there's you and your husband, speaking as girls, you and your husband, even just the two of them. As the two of us, even that, to have one person sustain two people is tricky. I mean, one paycheck trying to sustain one person is tricky as it is. So I would I would say, so for majority of people, I think to maybe, I don't know if live a comfortable life, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I feel living a comfortable life, the way the world is going at the moment, I don't think many people can get by with just one, like you said, one income in the household. That being said, there are people who do it. So I know, again, for me and my house, my husband would have to be earning top dollar in order for me to be like, okay, I don't need to work. But then, like you said, in terms of, it depends on the strength of the person. I'm very much like a planner and doer. I like to do things that I could not just sit in the house and do the same thing over and over, day in, day out. I'd have to have something else. Kind
of answers the question I was just about to ask. So let's say your husband is making a mil. Seven
figures.
Let's say. I'm going for a mil.
7 figures.
Oh yeah, you said 7. I thought you said 6.
No, wow. I said 7 figures.
Okay. Anywho, so like, would you then be like, okay, cool.
But also, it's like living within the means of that, because you can be But anyway, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, my point that I'm trying to make is, let's say there's enough money in the bank that you don't need to work.
No, money's not
you can not work and not be worried about.
Okay.
Money.
Yeah. Okay.
Would you still want to work?
I would still want to.
I hear that and I take
this
that.
blessing.
I would still want something that gets me out of the house.
Oh no. But what were you saying? You said.
Yeah, because we were talking and they were saying, well, kind of what I said already. But then in terms of like how women are seen as more emotional and stuff like that, and they think that that's because men are traditionally like the head of the household and have to have it together. They can't just lose it over any little thing, kind of a thing. And I was like, well, yeah, but then if something happens, if something happened to the woman, they would expect to just have to step up, but they don't necessarily think that a woman would step up for them if something was to happen to them. And I was like, oh, that's quite interesting.
Wait, so the guy said that they don't think that a woman would step up if something happened to them.
Yeah, they don't think they would be able to like handle it and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting, because like I would just be, we're a team, like it's to be reciprocated.
Everything is we.
So it's really quite interesting conversation actually. And